So just an official word of welcome to our spring 2021 dietary reboot, Panchakarma Ayurvedic cleanse. We've gone by many names to try to encapsulate or embrace or communicate the process that we're about to embark upon, all of which are legitimate and significant in their own right. In many ways, this is a reboot, and it certainly is spring, and it's based on Ayurvedic Panchakarma principles, and it does involve your diet, among many other things. So all those descriptors are a way of trying to point at the, the depth of where we're heading over the next couple weeks. The process of this cleanse can explore and peel back and purify and bring insight on so many levels. So it's been difficult to find that one word that encapsulates the many layers of this cleansing Panchakarma Ayurvedic reboot process. And not only is there a dietary component, but there's a spiritual dimension to this journey we're about to embark upon. Certainly a health dimension of what we're up to, as well as a community or a collective aspect of the cleansing. Many times in my own experience in the past, I've reflected on a life change, or maybe I had an individual moment of inspiration. I'm like, yep, Derek, it's like this from here on out. Only a dietary change, for example. Only 3 days later to waver or waffle or come up with the next declaration of the day. And in what we're creating here is a kind of container, or even you could say crucible, of our growth and transformation. That we're not doing this selectively or apart or alone or based on the particular whims of our mind any given day, but rather there's a dedicated container and steps and processes through which we can journey, not as individuals, but as a collective force. And I want to commend you all for your courage, right? Your courage and your willingness to explore the kind of a really primal aspect of ourselves or yourself, right? Our relationship to food goes all the way back to the first little organism that crawled out of the ocean, or the first little cell that emerged so many billions of years ago had a relationship to food, as did the next generation of that little entity or creature or amoeba, as did the next. Fast forward through time, that relationship to food has been a primal aspect of our growth and evolution. And to begin to approach that consciously and to retool or orient our relationship around food and the deeper cleanse is kind of exploration into this Genesis aspect of ourselves. Right? We've had this monumental relationship with food for so long, and then to step back and modify or refrain altogether brings a new dimension to your life, right? You can begin to see things in a different way, and maybe even touch your ancestors. So that's kind of my depth and intent that I'm carrying with us, and each and one another are also carrying each and one another of us on this journey of this Panchakarma dietary reboot. Ayurvedic springtime cleanse that we're about to embark on. And now is the official commencement and blessing on that process. Just to give you an overview this evening, we'll do a meditative practice, and then Beth will walk us through more of the design of the program and some documents for you to reference, some resources, so we can have a clear overview of where we're headed, the steps, layers, stages, some of the wisdom principles behind the way that the cleanse is designed the way that it is. And then we'll close with a bit of meditation on the back end. So let's take that collective moment here to gather inside and invite you to sit up tall and establish a mindful seat. And you close the eyes and start to turn within. And just about as primal as our desire for food, so too is the breath. A metronome of the breath that is another way we can link into our ancestors and the present moment. Direct your awareness now through the nose. Observe the quality and the texture of your breathing. Now, with a sense of openness, simply observe, even feel the surrounding sounds. Without trying to label or conceptualize sound, just the raw experience of sound itself. Perhaps we can hold space for or sense the silent backdrop from which all sound emerges. Now please join your palms to the heart, and gently tuck the chin. Connect with a sense of reverence. connect with a sense of reverent appreciation for the gift of life. And in your own words, we'll pray for grace and success on our collective journey. Could sound something like this. Oh, source of life, source of boundless sustenance and nourishment. Oh, benevolent force, please bless us with your grace in this coming process of Pancha Karma cleanse. May our efforts be truthful and revelatory. We ask your grace. And gently release the hands down to your thighs, and then lift your face and return back to this space. Multitudes of spaces joined here. Thank you. We saw a few others come in here, including, let's see, Christine and Laura. Want to welcome you, and as well as Beth. So Beth, I'm going to tweak with the settings here, make you co-host. I know you had a document that you wanted to share with all of us, and we'll make that possible.
Okay, thank you, friends. Can everyone hear me okay? It's good to see your beautiful faces. In addition to my parents being in a rough spot, I got this guy here who's kind of hurt, and he's staring at me like he wants attention. So you might hear him whining in the background because he needs a surgery on a knee. He's in a little bit of pain. So just FYI, that's what's happening here in the background with my cinnamon bear. And Derek, thank you for those beautiful words. And before I jump into the document, I want to just sort of pick up on something Derek said about nourishment. And this is something that many of you already, as practitioners of yoga, of meditation, of mindfulness, my sister Beth Howard in the Buddhist practice also very much knows about this from Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings on the four nutriments. And that is that as you go into the food, the dietary part of the cleanse, to please always bear in mind that edible foods are only one source of nourishment. And this very much reflected in yogic ideas. And that is that we are constantly nourishing ourselves through the various sense impressions that we take in. And because we are holding dedicated space for 18 days or so, a little less, honestly, when we actually start, but technically starting tonight with the mindset that we be mindful about what we are consuming with our sense impressions. And you will have a lot of choice around the lifestyle cleanses that you wish to engage, a lot of choice around whether or not you want to add extra herbs and supplements. You don't have to. And some choice certainly around the diet, but this was designed specifically based on Ayurvedic Pancha Karma. So would like to ask you to more or less be true to what has been documented within the realm of what is really healthy for you. Because some people are diabetic or pre-diabetic, some people are on a keto diet and it's not good for them to go all vegetarian. Some people can actually do a water fast very well. Some people not so well. And so you are adults, and hopefully you've got a lot of self-knowledge, or enough self-knowledge, or at least you trust that you can reach out to me really anytime, via email or via text or even a phone call. So I need a show of hands if anyone has not really looked at the kind of big spreadsheet. And you don't have to have memorized it, but I'd like to know if you have not looked at it yet. Okay, so it seems like we've all always kind of go into the screen share with that. And by the way, let me just enter into the chat right here. Oh, I can't, because or can I? I don't see it. I click on it. Anyway, you all have my email clearly. I wanted to also leave you my phone number, but we can get to that later. So let me go share screen. And just one moment. So I just want to sort of go over this. I want to let you know there are a couple of edits I still need to do, but that shouldn't really affect what we need to share tonight. So you can begin the process of getting clear about what you've signed up for. And mostly what I hope tonight is you get clear about what you need to shop for in the next couple herbal supplements if you want those. Okay. And also, I guess, some things that you need to do with your calendar schedule to clear your space. And I know at least one person, Shalise, is going to be needing to work during the days of the deep cleanse. Some of you will too. Our preference, of course, is that you rest as much as possible, but I understand sometimes you have to work. And if you're not able to fast, do water fast, you can at least do some kitchery that day, stay on the mono diet, or very minimally mono diet, and a few other steamed veggies, just to keep it real simple and real clean. So let me orient you to the spreadsheet. Across the top, we've got the practices. The first cell there is practice, and you go down from there and you'll read about the practices. And another edition that has notes on the various practices, because you may be very familiar with them, but you may not be. And that's why there's a number of handouts and so forth. And then across the top, those are our days. And we're right here, of course, on the 21st. This is the Zoom link for all of our gatherings where we check in, how is it going? And it will always be there. It is a different Zoom link than the Zoom links where we get together for yoga and meditation. And we start with yoga practice this coming Sunday at 9:30 a.m. with me. And I don't have the Zoom link up there yet, but it will be added tonight. But as you see, we go across the top, and just as we had advertised, we will have an online sadhana. Sadhana, for those of you perhaps less familiar with yoga, that's a general term for spiritual practices, typically some combination of asana, pranayama, and meditation, sometimes chanting. So that's the 28th is the Zoom link for the one with Derek at 7:30 a.m. to 8:45. We have a restorative clay of the deep cleanse. You might literally be doing just a water fast that day. And that is a hybrid class. We can fit 12 people in person at the United Church of Christ on 6th and Adams. I do need to hear from you via email or text if you're coming in person, because we can only accommodate 12 people, just to keep within COVID distances and so forth. But it will also be available online. I have yet to put the Zoom link on it. And on day 15, Wednesday the 5th, we have another yoga or sadhana practice in the morning with Derek. It's a different Zoom link than the one on the 28th. And please notice it is a different time slightly. It has to start at 8 a.m. But it's still an hour 15. And then we need another Zoom link for our final gathering on Saturday, May 8th. Okay. So those are the dates across the top. I did initially, you might have seen this a couple days ago, and I did initially have the diet down about 5 slots and across, because I kind of initially started it. These are the morning practices, but because the dietary part of cleanse is so central to doing, Derek suggested that I move it up and make it a different color. So I did that. Okay, so right under this, everything in blue are the dietary recommendations. And you can see that at the top in blue, just for those of you perhaps who are less familiar with Ayurveda, in Ayurveda, we generally don't really embrace the idea breakfast is the most important meal of the day. In fact, we tend to prefer a small breakfast that's just enough to get you to lunch. That lunch is your big meal of the day because your digestion is strongest when the sun is highest in the sky. And that dinner is also a small meal. And as you go into a cleanse, you may actually skip dinner a few days before you go into the deep cleanse, depending on your energy levels and so forth. I am going to skip dinner a few days before the deep cleanse. And it's true that part of the medicine of the deep cleanse is to go into a state of autophagy. I don't know if you all know that term, but there are organisms that eat other organisms, and we human beings are those. We're called heterotrophs, meaning we eat, spinach and carrots and maybe chicken and whatever. We're heterotrophs, but we're going to go into a state of autophagy. And autophagy means that those are organisms that are self-nourishing, kind of like plants. Technically, they're taking sunshine, water, soil, and so forth. But we are going to be metabolizing our own reserves of fat, of course, but also of the metabolic wastes that are just hanging around in the system and that have a tendency, according to Ayurveda, have a tendency to settle in the GI tract, to a certain degree in the skin, as well as in the joints. And there are a number of other places that this can be, including most notably on the tongue. And the general term for toxicity that's not fully metabolized or digested out of the body is called ama in Ayurveda, AMA. And you will begin to observe that your bowel movements may be different, that your body odor may be different. You might be signing up for a cleanse because you haven't quite smelled as fresh as you would like to, or you've got some coating on your tongue and you want to do tongue scraping and observe your tongue in the morning and in the evening and so forth. Okay. So if we go across here, breakfast is always very small, meaning that it might be just a green smoothie. And by the way, please do not add frozen vegetables to your smoothies, and please do not combine a bunch of fruits and vegetables and whey powder and all that. Please stick to mostly vegetables, a little ginger for the heat. And the only fruit that I want to say is really allowable to add in that is apple, because apple contains malic acid, which has the capacity to open the ducts in the liver and the bile. And part of a cleanse is to get your bile flush through and get it flowing again. But we really do not like frozen foods, basically, in Ayurveda, pretty much at all. I mean, I do drink iced tea in August and stuff like that, but we're going to try not to do that because it's a bit of a shock to the body. And for the concepts of food combining in Ayurveda, we're going to stay away from that. So for breakfast, it might just be a golden milk or tea or green smoothie, or of course you can eat a couple eggs or an egg or a little bit of oatmeal. And as we get closer to the deep cleanse days, which are May 1st and 2nd, we'll taper that off. Okay, so if you just go across the top, then, you know, you'll see what I've done is I've left a lot of blanks there so that you can, if you want, you can download this spreadsheet or and then maybe upload it to your own Google Drive so that you can add your notes into it if you'd like to keep a journal in this format. If you prefer to keep a journal on pen and paper, or to keep your own notes somehow about, wow, I'm really exhausted today, or you want to jot down exactly what you ate for breakfast that day, then you're welcome to do that any way you wish. Okay. If we go down to row number 4, where it says the diet generally, especially lunch and dinner, in general, we want home cooked. So to the best of your ability, no eating out for a number of reasons, but home cooked, fresh, seasonal, organic, local. I know that's asking a lot, real foods, but it's going to be quite simple. So even though it's all the things, it's not going to be fancy, elaborate meals. So hopefully you're able to do that. Eat mineral-rich salt and no refined oils. Sip warm water throughout the day. Warm water, particularly with a little bit of lemon or lime in it, is superb. CCFT refers to a tridoshic, meaning equally balancing tea made of equal parts cumin, coriander, and fennel. I'm realizing I need to make myself a little note here to get you the CCFT recipe, but that's what it is, equal parts of those seeds. And it's about a half a teaspoon each of those seeds per cup of water. You can drink that, or any number of herbal teas throughout the day. There are a number of easily available blends on the market, just at natural grocers or wherever, that say detox tea or liver flush tea or cleansing teas. And those are already blended for exactly this kind of practice. Tulsi is holy basil, is a beautiful adaptogenic herb that you might be familiar with. Wonderful to drink if you like that. Brahmi, less familiar to most people, a superb nervine tonic. So good for your brain and your nervous system. Available on the Banyan Botanicals website. Doesn't taste yummy, but this is kind of a medicinal time. And please do your best not to snack between meals and avoid nightshades. So that's the botanic classification of peppers, white potatoes, tomatoes, tomatillos, spinach, eggplants is also a nightshade. Why? Simply because they're very common, mild allergens for many people, not all. So just stay clear of them. Okay. I will ask you during this cleanse to favor the root veggies and the things that nature provides in the springtime abundantly. Bitter greens, sprouts, asparagus, and this is more of a fall vegetable, but beets are superb also for liver flushing. Okay, if you want to throw in some sweet potato or yam, go for it. You love broccoli, go for it. Just avoid the white potatoes because that's a nightshade. Okay, we will be eating a fair amount of khichdi. And perhaps not everyone is familiar with khichdi, but it is the quintessential Ayurvedic food, easy to digest, fed to babies and seniors, people who are sick, and eaten as a Pancha karma cleanse. And frankly, for me, it's become just kind of a soul food. Khichdi is, there are many different recipes, but how I make it is about equal parts white basmati rice and mung, M-O-O-N-G, dal. Okay, also sometimes referred to as M-U-N-G, which is a little tiny bean. I get the one that's yellow and it has no skin on it. White rice and the bean with no skin on it is the easiest to digest. If you don't have easy access to an Indian market, or you just want to go to Vitamin Cottage or something, or Whole Foods, and you can only get, oh, poor baby, I'm so sorry, poor honey. Oh, it just breaks my heart. He's only 2.5 and he can't move his lower body very well right now. You can get the green kind of mung dal that has the skin on it. It has more of a scraping effect because it has more fiber. That is frankly less ideal if you have a lot of vata energy built up in your body. That's the energy that makes you feel kind of ungrounded, spacey, anxious. Who doesn't have anxiety from just pandemics in 2020 and just everything, right? And plus we're in Colorado, which is high and light and dry. So if you've got a lot of that energy, you might want to either make a trip to the Indian market, or please be aware that khichdi can be made with quinoa and green lentils or red lentils or French lentils, so long as you have a small bean and a good, easily digestible grain. And to that is added a fair amount of spices, not very much pungent spices, so not a lot of chilies, besides which they're a nightshade, but certainly ginger, and in many cases, mustard seeds, unless you have a lot of pitta. If you're very high pitta and you want to clean that out, meaning that you have primarily fire element built up in your system. And you might know that because perhaps you have psoriasis or rashes or general systemic inflammation, mood irritability, anger might be the first place you go when you have those are all signs that you have little excess fire in your body. And if that's the case, you'd probably want to reduce the mustard seeds and the ginger because they're very pungent. Okay, but the recipe is there and there are variations on it. I tend to like it pretty heavily spiced. I like a lot of coriander. I like a fair amount of turmeric. Frankly, I like a fair amount of salt, and I put extra ghee at least to the first 4 or 5 days of the cleanse. There's a point where we really reduce our fats. But anyway, the khichdi recipe is there. Everyone should be able to click on the link, right? And go to the handouts. And I think everyone except for Laura, I don't think I've invited you yet to all of the handouts, but I'll do that after the call. And it's only just because you registered a little bit late and I just didn't get to it quite yet. Okay. So for those of you who are non-vegan, and if you like the taste of ghee, then you'll want to fry your spices in ghee. Also use coconut oil. And there are other oils you could use as long as they take high heat. You're okay. Typically sunflower is okay. Okay. All ghee and khichdi ingredients can be purchased at the Banyan Botanicals website, or many of them at natural grocers, Whole Foods, even I think King Soopers, you can get a lot of these things, or at an Indian market nearby to you. I would stay clear of purchasing ghee at Indian markets because many of the brands are cut with cheaper oils. And Derek let me know that that ghee is available at Costco in a big, huge bucket for $30, and it's organic. Organic. Why do you want organic ghee? Because so many herbicides and pesticides are concentrated in the fat cells of animals. And so you get, extra recombinant bovine growth hormone. Like, who wants that during a cleanse especially? So please choose organic. Okay, I liked India Bazaar on South Parker Road just before 225 when you're heading southeast in Denver. Okay. So as we go through the days, you'll see what to do on each day. On Sunday, we start, okay? We're gonna do a yoga practice together on Sunday. We're gonna eliminate the processed foods. That's canned, frozen, prepared in boxes, you know, Cheetos and Doritos, and you know what I mean. Sure. Coffee, if you can, caffeine. Sometimes it depends how much of a coffee drinker you are, because sometimes it's a big step to go from coffee to black or green tea. You're welcome to do that a day or two because the headaches can be a little rough sometimes. I didn't put this in here, but there are a number of lovely coffee substitutes, such as Dandy Blend, which is also bitter and is dandelion root, superb herbal supplement, especially in the springtime. And then there's a beautiful blend of Ayurvedic herbs and chicory root called Rasa, R-A-S-A, made by a company here in Boulder. And because it's full of Ayurvedic herbs, they're actually adaptogenic. And adaptogenic herbs, they're so smart. They figure out, does your nervous system need a little boost, or does your nervous system need calming down? So that's what we do the first day, eliminating those things. Recreational drugs, if you partake, soda, carbonated drinks, there's a lot of vata in those gas bubbles, right? Eggs, if you can, okay? All known food allergens. Okay, no sweeteners except local honey until day 15, unless you make the electrolyte drink during the deep cleanse, which sometimes has a little maple syrup in it, although you can do honey as well. The electrolyte drink is technically not Ayurvedic, but many people do these in cleanses like master cleanses. It's mostly water, and you just put in, you know, about a teaspoon of maple syrup or honey. You add about a half a teaspoon of mineral salt, and if you're not too pitta or fiery, you add a little bit of cayenne, and it kind of gets you through. It's sort of like a simple, you know, healthier Gatorade without a bunch of colorings in it and additives and so forth. Apple juice is okay, again, because malic acid opens the channels of the liver. Okay, on the day after that, we'll eliminate meat if you can. I know some people are ketogenic and they know a lot about their own bodies, and they know they don't survive well on a bunch of carbs. So if that works for you, please eliminate meat. Eat 2 to 3 meals a day of simple, clean foods such as soups, steamed vegetables, cooked grains, salad greens, and beans, especially sprouted beans. You may know this, but the larger the bean, the thicker the cellulose or the covering on the bean, therefore the harder to digest, therefore the more gas that it produces in the body. That's why we like mung dal, because it's a tiny little bean, easy to digest. The Ayurvedic cleanses, though they can last longer, this is a longer cleanse, you guys are taking on a fair amount here, but it's gentle, okay? It's not just gonna like blow your head off and like blow everything out the lower gates of the body. There might be a little of that, but it's not like explosive. It's gentle. It doesn't scrape your colon. It's gentle. And the reason that it's gentle is because, like it or not, other things will come up during the cleanse. And trust me, you're gonna have 1 or 2 days where you're gonna be like, I don't like this. Why did I sign up for this? And if you just stick through it, you're going to come to the other side and be like, I'm so happy I did this, right? It's just like that peak sequence in an asana class where you just kind of power through it, and then all is forgiven in shavasana, right? It's a little like that. So we are also drastically reducing other fats, including nuts. I actually need to move that one day over about the reducing fats. I'll do that later. And then we repeat that a light breakfast, a good sized lunch, and for dinner, please make your dinner before 6 p.m. so that you're already starting to have intermittent fasting, a true fast in the evening when you go to bed. And that dinner ideally is small, a small fruit salad, a small fresh fruit salad, a small vegetable salad, or a little bit of clear broth of some sort. Miso and ginger with greens is excellent. Why? Because miso has probiotics, ginger has a gentle burning effect, and spring greens are what we're all about this time of year. Okay, dinner, if you prefer, could also just be a green drink. And that green drink that I'm suggesting is up here in C3: cucumber, celery, apple, ginger, lemon or lime, cilantro or parsley. Some people can't stand cilantro. It's just a genetic thing. No forcing. It is an amazing blood cleanser, but not everyone can handle it. It's okay. And you see I have a little note here, please chew your green drink. Get your saliva in there, mixed up. And this is generally true for all of your eating. Please slow down, eat with some attention, chew more than you normally do until the food is pretty well liquefied, and really just make it a beautiful eating meditation. Feel it go down, get the nourishment. Thank all of the beings that have contributed to your food. So many people and beings and elements that are not immediately accessible to you unless you become mindful and let your mind be expansive and grateful. Okay, so we repeat that. Then we get down to eating khichdi for 2 meals, always top with lots of fresh cilantro or parsley. Parsley is another great blood cleanser. For lunch, add cooked beets or dandelion greens. Drink any herbal tea, apple or beet juice, hot water with lemon or lime. I say lemon or lime because lemon is warming, lime is cooling. So if you're one of those people with more pitta or fire element, favor lime rather than lemon. Okay, and then we repeat that again, and then we're in the deep cleanse. Okay, this should be May 1st. Yeah, we have a restorative class that evening, optional. Well, it's optional to come in person. I would love to see you there somehow or other, because you will be probably fasting. And that means just a lot of stuff can be released. And if you can get your body open and we can be together, it can just be synergized and just one meal, or we water fast. If we're starting to get real down, we can drink the electrolyte drink. You will almost certainly want and need to take a nap on that day. Please do it. And or put your legs up the wall. Same thing on the second day. Okay, I've never fasted for more than 4 days in my life. So this is 2 days it is a challenge for me. And for those of you maybe who have fasted before, you might know, yeah, the hunger comes and you just say, hello, my hunger, there you are. And I know you're impermanent. And guess what? It does pass. And your body, what kicks in inside your body is that it's run out of its easily available, is it glucose or glycogen? It's the easily available sugars in the bloodstream and the liver. I think it's glycogen, you guys. And then there's a moment where your body's like, oh, what is there left to burn? And then it figures out, fat slash not fully processed metabolic wastes that are hanging out in your blood vessels, in your joints, etc., as I explained earlier. Okay, so that's what's happening there. So then we come to the day after that. You break your fast with kanji. Kanji is just rice. It's just rice, except for you add a little more water. So it's kind of a rice soup or gruel, and you add some ghee or flax oil, which has all those great omega-3s and 6s, or sesame oil is fine, and a little bit of salt. Okay, that's what you break your fast with. You could add a green drink either at lunch or make it for dinner. Again, no fruit except for apple. And then the next day you return to 2 meals. It's still wholesome, clean. We're not snacking, you know, we're not going for the beer and Doritos or anything like that. I mean, I know you won't, but so I'm just saying. And then we're adding some more vegetables back in, some asparagus, maybe some probiotics. Not maybe, please do a probiotic. Okay, starting the in fact, I need to move that one day up, starting the day after your fast. Okay, so that would be horseradish, kimchi, kombucha. You could do kefir or yogurt lassi, unless you have a tendency to get a little bit congested when you eat dairy, cow dairy, but there are also vegan options available. And I do have adding dairy a couple days later. So next day we repeat that, except for we add more diverse grains. Millet, quinoa, and buckwheat are excellent. And they're a little bit more excellent if you have excess kapha in your dosha. That's the earth and water elements combining. So for those of you who feel like congestive, allergic, a little sluggish, a little depressed, those are all signs, and ada ama on your tongue, those are signs of the kapha dosha that needs to be cleansed out. Okay, so those grains are a little bit dry, a little bit scraping. They're better than things like, for instance, barley and oatmeal, which get heavy and sticky rice, right? So you can try to avoid those if you're trying to reduce kapha. And then you can start to take a little bit of oil back into your diet, a little bit of ghee, a little bit of avocado, etc. Next day, eat 2 to 3 meals. One of them can be a fruit salad, but not lunch. Lunch should be more substantial. Take another probiotic. And then on this day, we start rasayan. Rasayan, my favorite word in Sanskrit, rasa. The name of the coffee substitute that I was telling you all about earlier. Rasa means flavor, taste, devotion, sweetness, and love, because that's how Sanskrit is. And Rasayan is a rejuvenative. And this is one of the reasons Ayurvedic cleanses are so wonderful. And you have far less of that, well, I did my fast and now suddenly I just want to go inhale 2 pounds of jelly beans, right? Like fall off the cliff type of thing. This is preventative of that, because what a rasayan is a deep nourishment. And there are a number of them, but I'm offering 2.5 to keep it fairly simple. And one of them is the ojas building shake that you take at night, about an hour before bed. Ojas is a very highly refined substance that's in the heart, in the reproductive tissue, and generally in the immune function. And it's the highly refined, finished process of digestion, according to Ayurveda, ojas. And when it's depleted, our vitality and our immunity go way down. So we're going to build up again, slowly, gently, sweetly, with foods that don't take 35 days to go from your plate and turn into ojas. They nourish ojas directly in one day. And those foods are almonds, cow milk, ghee, cardamom, and then there are a couple of other herbs and spices that are in the recipe as options, like cloves and nutmeg and cinnamon, cardamom. I think I said that, saffron, and a date or 2, okay, to add a little bit of sweetness. If you don't take cow milk, you can use almond milk. You could even use oat milk. Although I wouldn't, if you're a little kapha, I wouldn't use oat milk quite yet. Okay, so that's one of them, is the ojas building shake. And you do have a recipe in the link. And the other one is to make another warm milk, almond or cow milk shake with chavanprash. That's a big word, chavanprash. You have a link to it to purchase at the Banyan Botanicals website. By the way, they're made over at 33rd and Federal in Denver at Prana Yoga. Hansa Knox, I think, sells a number of these products from Banyan. I haven't reached out to her just because I haven't had a moment, but you might be able to get them more locally from her. But what Chyawanprash is, and it does contain sugar, so be aware of that. If you want to stay off the sugar, perhaps you're pre-diabetic or something like that, you want to stay off the sugar, you might not want to do Chyawanprash. But it's organic cane sugar, but it's got 15, 20 Ayurvedic herbs in it, and it's got ghee. And it's this thick, dark, slightly spicy jam. And you take a teaspoonful of that, put it in some warm milk, put it in the blender, blend it up, and drink it before bed. Yummy, yummy. It's so delicious. So we do Rasayan these next few days. And if you see back to our last day, it says continue Rasayan for 2 to 3 weeks so that you keep building up the nourishment, even though technically our cleanse will end. Okay. So that's the general dietary guidelines. But if you go down, and I might move these back up, on certain days, there are a couple of extra things that you can do. And one of them that's a must, okay? Unless you have cholesterol or you have some liver or gallbladder dysfunction, such as you don't have a gallbladder. And that is oleation. And it is, where is it? Oleation means drinking oil in the early morning, before breakfast, before doing meditation practice. Where the heck did it go? Here it is. Row number 12, oleation can be ghee, coconut oil, or flax. Okay, this happens early in the cleanse so that you are, and early in the day, so that you are taking in something oily and unctuous to lubricate all the channels of the body, because it loosens up the ama that is to be then pushed into the GI tract, into the urinary tract, and sweated out the skin. So I'm not going to lie to you. Drinking, as you can see, the last day we drink is 5 to 6 tablespoons of oil. It can be a little like, there's a little gag factor in there, okay? Including for me, and I've done this many times. So because it's so oily and you might need a little help digesting it, you could do, prior to taking that, you could do a little bit of neem. Neem is a super bitter liver cleansing herb that will help you to digest it. And I didn't write this in here, but I will. You could drink tikta ghee and not regular ghee. Tikta is 3 different herbs. It's there. It's so bitter that I don't even want to think about it. I've taken it before. I'm not going to do it this cleanse, but if you want to order it, OMG. Okay. It's like, or you just take a little bite of a slight, like a little jalapeno pepper, or a little bit of raw ginger, or a little sprinkle of cayenne in the ghee, and that will help your body to break it down. But this is oleation, okay? It is to do before sadhana or spiritual practices, okay? So now that I've explained the diet, let me go to kind of what the morning routine we're suggesting. You don't have to do all of this, but as much as you can would be superb. Okay, to the best of your ability, wake up at sunrise. Now, if you're not used to waking up that early, you might need to set an alarm the first day or two. I think sunrise now is 6:20, 6:30, 6:15, something like that right now, okay? And ideally, we practice this every day of the cleanse. Generate first thought. Your first thought might be your dreams, and that's totally okay, because sometimes our dreams are marvelous to work with, or they provide some message. But when you start to like becoming aware, body, world, self, all of that, do your best to generate a nourishing thought first thing in the day. I'm suggesting one of the little gathas that we use in the Plum Village practice, and that is 24 brand new hours. You could add 24 brand new hours. I vow to live them in mindfulness. It could be, thank you. Thank you. Okay, it could be a mantra, some little prayer, first thing. Okay, little stretch, get on up, go to the restroom. I want to invite you to start noticing your pee and poop, please. Because in the beginning of the cleanse, you're more likely to see bubbles, sediment, turbidity in your urine. That's kind of cloudiness in your urine, foam, etc. Observe your feces for undigested food and a particularly offensive smell. Notice how it changes over the cleanse. Okay, there is a beautiful practice called oil pulling, which is where you take a teaspoon of any kind of oil. I use coconut. It's kind of weird at first. You put it in your mouth, it melts, and you swish, 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 swish. Do not swallow it. Please do not swallow. During that time, I usually feed the dog. I usually wash a couple dishes or something as I'm swishing. I usually, clear some space to practice yoga. I usually make a bed, something like that. Swish, swish, swish. It's pulling pathogens out of your bloodstream. It's pulling tiny little bits of lodged food up between your teeth and your gums, pulling stuff out of the cavitations in your teeth because it's oily, it's unctuous. Some people say that it makes their teeth whiter, and many people have reported that that gap between the little moat between gum and teeth narrows, gets tighter. It's excellent for oral hygiene. And like I said, it's pulling pathogens out of your bloodstream because you got a bunch of capillaries inside of the mouth. You go and spit it out. If you're going down the sink, run plenty of hot water so you don't plug up your pipes. Sometimes people spit it in the trash can in the kitchen or something. That's okay. And then brush teeth and then scrape tongue. If you don't have a tongue scraper, you can use a spoon as long as the edge of it's a little sharp. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Observe your tongue. Notice cracks, notice scalloping on the sides, notice the coating in particular. If you don't already do tongue scraping, guarantee that once you get into the habit, if you don't scrape your feel like you didn't even brush your teeth. It becomes a really beautiful oral hygiene thing, okay? Drink some warm water, first thing, and then take your ghee, or like I said, your flax oil or your coconut oil, okay? 10 minutes after you have had water, but before sadhana. Are we tracking? Everyone okay so far? Okay, stop me anytime if you've got questions. And then we go into our sadhanas, yoga, pranayama, meditation, prayer, whatever it is for you. I have given you a link right here in this column D for Ayur yoga practices on the Banyan Botanicals website. If you're familiar with your inherent constitution, prakriti, or your current condition, vikruti, if you want to do a practice that's especially for reducing vata, or especially for reducing pitta, or especially from reducing kapha, it's right there. But you might have your own beautiful set of practices you know to do. And we're not going to tell you how long they need to be. You're a grown up, but please dedicate some part of your day to touching the deepest part of yourself and nourishing the deepest part of yourself. And we'll have a few days practicing together. Okay. By the way, the practices with Derek and myself, of course, they're optional, but we would love to see you there if you can make it. Okay. So I'm going to go down here for bathing and showering. That might be a morning practice for you. For me, I'm going to do it in the evening because I've got plenty of stuff to do in the morning now. All right. So bathing and showering, whenever you do it, you may wish to do abhyanga. Abhyanga is self-massage with oil. And there's a general type, and that link is right here, general abhyanga instructions. And during the deep cleanse, there's a pretty in-depth type that involves castor oil, which is particularly loosening of all kinds of stuff, whether we take it orally or we on our skin. It's superb for cleansing. And there's a link there about the technique if you want to go real during the deep cleanse, those 2 days, or even the 4 days before and after deep cleanse, and those 2 days, you might want to do the castor oil abhyanga. But it is a beautiful practice where you anoint your body with sacred oils, and you take your time and you massage the wrists, and there's long strokes along the bones, and it's, thank you, and you kind of just like move the lymph along and so forth. It's a beautiful practice of self-care and self-love, and it makes your skin nice and soft and lovely. I personally I just don't use lotion anymore. I don't use stuff that has a bunch of ingredients I can hardly pronounce. That's just my particular deal. There are specific types of oil you can use, but just almost any oil will do. Sesame, coconut, sunflower, or almond are the most common, but you can read that in the instructions. Also, I want to jump down here to Swedan, or sweating, which is row 20. And you can see there are 5 days of sweating recommended. I need to just move them over just a little bit. Swedan means a sweating practice, so that the toxins, the ama that's being loosened, can go out the bio pathway of the skin. You're going to be peeing some of it out, pooping some of it out, breathing some of it out, and sweating some of it out, and scraping some of it out. Okay. Do a sauna or a hot tub or something, that's wonderful, dry or hot. Dry saunas are particularly recommended if you have a lot of kapha in the system, and wet saunas are more recommended if you have a lot of vata in the system, because vata already runs dry, so you want to add moisture. However, I suspect many of us will just be doing a hot shower or a bath. And if you do a bath and you want to take it up a little bit, you can add 1/4 cup of dry ginger powder and 1/4 cup of baking soda and 1 full cup of Epsom salt. Okay, don't add the ginger if you have a lot of pitta, fire element. Okay, and one other thing, I put a note here, very pitta, you might want to just get a towel and run it through quite cold water and wrap it around your head, because it's not a good idea for the brain to get too heated for pitta people. It doesn't help the cleanse. It can get them spinning off in thoughts. Hi, Kia, welcome. Okay.
Everybody, thank you for having me.
You bet. So there are a few days where you'll want to be doing some sweating, and let me just come back up to here. For herbal supports, I already spoke about tikta and neem, but for virechon, which is purgation through the GI tract, the quintessential Ayurvedic herb to do this is triphala. And that's triphala tea at night. Triphala means 3 fruits: bibitaki, haritaki, amalaki. This tea is, I'll be honest, it's an acquired taste. It's sour. It's 3 fruits, but they're sour fruits. And it's even a little bit bitter. You could add a tiny bit of honey in it, or you could just kind of like, go for it. It has a toning effect, gentle squeezing toning effect on the GI tract. And if you buy the powder, you just put 1 teaspoon in a cup of hot water, and you drink it about an hour before bed on the days assigned. Okay, you'll have to go up and look at that. Some people don't want to bother with drinking a medicinal tasting tea. They can get the tablets. And one little warning, particularly in pitta individuals, high pitta individuals, it can cause a little bit of diarrhea. And that's not a huge problem, but if it does, you just reduce the dosage a little bit. Okay. Almost finished, everyone. Basti. Okay, Basti. That is recommended for 1 or 2 days only, and especially for people who have very high vata. Again, that's dryness, anxiety. If you've got aches and pains in your lower body, hip joints, low back, knees, if you have insomnia, etc., you might want to consider doing a Basti. I'm not going to lie, it's not the prettiest practice. This is a medicated enema. And it might sound a little gross, but OMG, do you ever feel in your body and grounded and like, wow, I had no idea that my colon was so dry. I need to get you the recipe, because these two things are, the first link is kind of how to administer it. And frankly, I'm going to change it because that's from the Ayurveda Institute. I need to update that. But let me just explain generally. And this is for the herb to add to it. All right. What this is you take 4 quarts of purified, 4 quarts, 4 cups. Sorry. You don't want to put 4 quarts of water in your colon, 4 cups. And about 1/4 cup of dashamul, which means 10 roots. Because what do we do for anxiety and elevated, ungrounded energy? Add earthy elements, things that grow in the earth, roots. And we make a tea and we boil it down until it's 3 cups of liquid. And then we strain it. And then we add 1 cup of sesame oil, not toasted, but refined or unrefined doesn't matter, but not toasted. And we add that to the dashamul tea. We put it in the blender and blend it up so it gets all emulsified through. You put the whole thing in a hot water bottle. You go into the warm, usually the bathroom, but wherever, a warm room. I like to hang the hot water bottle on the towel rack, roll onto your left side, move your leg up, and then up the rectum it goes. And you open the hose and slowly 4 cups usually works. Sometimes you can't quite fit that much in. That's okay. Of course, you will have wanted to evacuate prior to this. And that goes into your colon as much as you can. And when you're pretty full, you roll onto your back and you give yourself, let me show you on my body, a massage in the reverse direction. So up the left side, up the descending colon. You want to go upwards. And then as much as you can, way up high across the transverse colon, and then back down. And you want to do that, just kind of rub your tummy for good luck, right? In a, let's see, if I'm, this is a counterclockwise. This is counterclockwise from my perspective, all right? And you do this at night, and then you go to bed. I have done this before where I've slept through the whole night with all of that fluid inside of me. I have also done it where I had to get up at like 2 a.m. and poop it out. Now, you will probably eliminate far less than you put inside of you, because you may not know it, but your colon can get very dry. And so it will absorb the medicinal tea and a little bit of the oil. And in that way, you just will feel so grounded. Okay. That comes, if you want to do it, and you don't have to, but that comes way down here towards the end after we've done our fast. Okay. On any one of those last 4 days. Okay, you can do it only once or you can do it twice. Please don't do it more than that. It is particularly important that you take a probiotic if you do Basti, because you're kind of cleaning out some of the bugs in your colon. Not all of them, but a lot of them will come out. Okay, and you want to nourish the colon with that kimchi, kombucha, etc. Okay. I'll just let you read this. You don't have to use the herbs I'm suggesting. And if you are familiar with herbology general and things like milk thistle, which are great for cleaning the liver, you know how to use these herbs, medicinal mushrooms, nettles, horsetail, mint, cloves, mangista, ashwagandha. Oh my gosh, ashwagandha. If you are feeling a little bit weak and shaky, please see me about ashwagandha. It's such a strengthening herb. Shatavari, particularly good for women. Tulsi, Brahmi, superb for the nervous system. They're all excellent, and you can reach out to me if you want to take them anytime during the cleanse, and I will help you figure out how much and when. Okay, we went over sweating, and then we have an evening routine recommendations. Please, no screen time after 9 p.m. or even earlier, if you can do that. If you're having your dinner before 6, maybe you're done at 5:30 with screen that day. Dim the lights or use natural candle light so you're not overly stimulated by artificial light. In the evening, spend time with family, read, do some gentle yoga, put your legs up the wall or up the sofa, do some yoga nidra, get to bed by 10, even earlier if you're tired. Okay, drink herbs and rejuvenatives towards the end of the cleanse. Please reduce sexual activity during the cleanse, just because it depletes ojas, and particularly in men, who is Derek looks like on our cleanse. But just reduce that for now, and also fast from violent or disturbing sense impressions. Okay, little news fast, or at least reduction, social media fast or reduction. And to go to bed, you can do the simple pranayama of langana, extending exhalation while you're lying in bed, inhaling for 5, exhaling for 8. And hopefully you'll just drift off in a beautiful way. Okay. Here are the rasayans I spoke about earlier. There is the ojas building shake recipe. There is the Chavanprash link. I love Chavanprash. You could also do golden milk if you know recipe for that and you have your own recipe. That's also rasayan. And then the rest of this is just semi-optional, other things you may wish to do, except for this one, rest. That's not really optional. You really need to rest a little bit more than so to the extent that you can, reduce your work commitments, reduce your social engagements, clear your calendar as much as possible. And I know, Shalise, you have a special sort of circumstance, and I'm happy to help you through that if you want to stick with us. But these are the other kind of options that you may wish to do. Garshana is dry brushing. Dry brushing with exfoliating gloves, a rough towel, or a brush on the skin before showering and bathing. It gets your circulation woken up and brought to the surface. It's really helpful if you have a lot of kapha, a lot of built up kind of sluggishness going on in your system. Neti pot, maybe you already know this one, warm water with just a little bit of salt. So it's about the salinity of your blood. Derek and myself, we both prefer using, a good liter-sized pot that you use to water a plant. Those little neti pots are fine, but when you got a good liter size, you've got a lot more pressure. And I do it over the bathtub or sometimes outside, but typically over the bathtub, and just pour. And it goes up and kind of flushes and comes back down, and blow, switch, and with the rest of it, you rinse out the bathtub. Not everybody needs or wants to do neti, but there it is. I don't have a handout for neti. Does anybody need that? I'm happy to make one. if people don't know how to use the neti pot. Maybe put it in the comments, in the chat, if you would like a handout for that. Okay. Nasya, that's a few drops of coconut or sesame oil, or nasya oil can be purchased from Banyan, which has skullcap, a beautiful herb for your brain, and it also has Brahmi in it. And that's typically done at night before bed, a couple of drops of oil, and you kind of breathe it up into your nose. So it kind of lubricates the sinus passages, but the herbs, some of them anyway, cross the blood-brain barrier. Brahmi does this and affects your brain, okay? You have, Alkananda used to say, Brahmi has the special power of crossing the crubriform plate of the something into the circle of Willis, which is some big circulatory thing in your brain. She's a doctor. But anyway, trust me, it can be a beautiful thing for kind of cleansing the mind of samskaras. Samskaras are sense impressions or patterns that are unwholesome in the mind. Okay. Agnisara, that's, maybe you all know that, but that's where you exhale, lean forward, pull your belly in, and then let it drop several times with the breath held out. Typically, Mula Bandha and Jalandhara Bandha. There's a video there, you can watch it. Highly recommend that you do this, as it says right here, after oleation, just to get that oil moved around in your stomach and through the GI tract, and to get your bile flowing. Okay, Agnisar. And then emotional work. It's just going to happen. You don't have to go chasing it. Okay, as you release Ama, you make your sense impressions more wholesome. Emotions that are ready to be released have a tendency to rise up. You might feel giddy. You might feel very sad. You might spontaneously cry. Grief will come up. You maybe have lost some friends or family members to COVID, and that's not fully processed. You might be going through a difficult time. You might have some ancestral clearing to do. I don't know. My advice only is, please do not repress it. Let it flow. Write about it. Let it move through you. Know that it's helpful, supportive, cleansing. Let it go. And then the last couple of things, my friends, to the best of your ability, spend a little more time in nature. Maybe when you do sitting meditation, if it's a nice day and you've got a beautiful tree to lean against, and feel the presence of that tree supporting you. Feel the water flowing through the trunk of the tree. Feel its shade, the power of its roots in the earth. Yay, beautiful. Take some long, slow walks. Stop and just stare at all the things. Watch the way the wind moves the branches of the trees. And it's so beautiful. And consume, eat, consume, nourish yourself with the abundant nourishment that is available all over the place, that in our busyness we tend not to take in. Okay, singing, humming, or doing Brahmhari breath, bee humming, those all stimulate the vagus nerve to help parasympathetic nerve response. If you like to sing, that might be a lovely thing that you want to do. Rest, and then, you all have some other practices that nourish you. Maybe you get the urge to clean out a closet or a drawer, or take a box of stuff to the thrift store, wash out the fridge, meditate while leaning against a tree. As I said, maybe you don't regularly take 3 breaths or say a prayer before your meals. Maybe you want to journal. Maybe I put Agnihotra in there because I'm going to do some Agnihotra. I'm going to burn some cow dung and put some rice in it and say some mantras. That's what I'm going to, I have the special copper pot and I'm going to do it. Okay. Maybe you like to play an instrument, chant, garden, get your hands in the soil, and maybe you even want to shave your head. I put that in there sort of as a joke, but every once in a while, you know how it is. Some people are, a new hairdo is like new chapter. And sometimes people are like, I'm so ready to get rid of 2020 so bad, I'm just going to cut off all my hair. Or, whatever works for you. And then there's some, choose your own adventure space. So Kia, and if Barbara, if you came in, I don't see everyone. And if there's something you missed, you can go back and listen to the beginning of the recording. And or you can reach out to me, but I'll stop right there and see if there are questions as there. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Beth, I have some questions about kitchery, which I think will answer some of the ones in the chat too. So the recipe that you have calls for 1 cup of rice and 2 cups of the beans. So is that for a serving or is that multiple servings?
Oh, that's multiple servings. Yeah. And
Okay.
By the way, that's my bias. I like it either half and half or with more beans and less rice. But you could actually change proportions a little. But yeah, that's going to make
so
you
it will keep for a couple of days.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It will. And you might want to make a good sized pot of that, just so it's all ready for you. Has everyone on the call had kitchery before? Has anyone not had kitchery? Rachel, you haven't? Okay. When it's well made, it's really yummy. And when I say well made, this is my tastes, okay? Plenty of spices. It should be about the consistency of oatmeal. It's like a porridge. Frankly, I like it soupier than that. I like to add a little more water. It's a nice steep yellow color because it's got turmeric in it, which is the world's most wonderful plant for so many reasons. It's antimicrobial, it's anti-cancer, it's anti-inflammatory. Add a little fat like ghee and black pepper to it, and your bioavailability can go up by as much as 2,000%. We think there's only one study that says that, but I am going to quote it. The turmeric is fabulous. So yeah, be generous with the spices. What else?
I like dal. Would you say it's similar to dal?
Similar to dal, except for you don't add chilies, really. So it's not pungent, spicy. It's very flavorful though, because of cumin, coriander. Fennel is an option in there. Not everyone likes fennel seeds. I don't know if I have fennel in the recipe, but typically it's mustard seed, ginger, cumin, coriander, turmeric, and then salt, ghee, and black pepper.
Beth, there are a number of comments in the chat that would be helpful to look at, and also just a little battery check. I got about 15 minutes on my battery here as I host the call, so if we could factor that in as well, that'd be great.
I cannot access the chat. So, I don't know. Can somebody read that to me? Oh, I know. I gotta quit sharing. If I stop, there. Yeah, I gotta stop sharing and then I can access the chat. Okay. Yep, there's my phone number. There's the link. 7:45. I think we'll make it, Derek. Typically, yes, you can only get yellow mung dal at Indian grocery stores. I said Bazaar of India, but it's actually called Bombay Bazaar. That's my one. That's my favorite one in Denver. And Beth Howard, is Beth Howard still here? There you are, love. You're up in Cheyenne. So I don't know if you have Indian markets up there. You have to go online.
Yeah, I've ordered some things from Banyan Botanicals.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. How long will Kitchery keep? You know, it 3-4 days. Yeah, 3-4 days. It don't be grossed out when you put it in the fridge if it turns into this heavy pasty thing. It seems so unappetizing, but all you need to do is put it in another pan, add water, and just keep stirring. It will get yummy again. Costco sells ghee. Dandelion roots from the front yard. Yes, absolutely. If they're not sprayed, roots and leaves. And the flowers have also some kind of medicine. I don't know enough about the flowers, but I know they're edible. I've eaten them in salads before. But yes. And Beth needed to run, no worries. Swishing for oil pulling, minimum 2 minutes. It takes about 2 minutes for your blood to circulate around your body in a resting position, but what is actually recommended is 5 to 10. Okay, your mouth is going to get pretty full of a combination of oil and saliva, and it gets real foamy. You know, if you need to spit out a little, then go spit out a little and finish your 5 to 10 minutes. And thank you, Kelly. Yeah, you can go 15 to 20. I mean, that's pretty marathon. I don't know if I've done that long. You know, actually I have, but I didn't mean to. But you could go 15 to 20 minutes if you really want to. And how much Kitchery is a standard serving size? You know, it's about a bowl of soup. And you might want to eat a little bit more at lunch and a little bit less at dinner. Okay. Again, you can make a combination of green lentils and quinoa. Maybe you want to add slightly different spices. I don't really know if this translates, but a real soulful heirloom deep Colorado food for me is a combination of bolita beans, which is a small round bean that grows in southern Colorado, is native to southern Colorado, combined with chicos del horno, which is adobe dried corn that has been nixtamalized, so a lot of the proteins are available to it. And I cook that in water with a little bit of red chili, garlic, comino, and some fat. I'm not going to say that's my Colorado Kitchery, but it sure is a lot like it. And I want you to know Ayurveda is not really about Indian food. It comes from India. So of course, those are the ingredients. Ayurveda is about elements and energies and qualities of food, experience, sense impressions, environments, etc. So you can make some little adjustments. And particularly if you know about Ayurveda, and if you don't know that much, just keep learning. You got a whole life to live. And I'm happy to give you some recommendations for websites, books, etc. Any other questions, friends, before we wrap up?
I do, Beth. Could you guys send the links to the yoga classes via email? Just because sometimes my inbox gets crazy, and then to find old links and get to the stuff and things, if it could be at the top, you know, that would be cool.
Yeah, I could put one big master email together with all the links describing what dates they're for. Is that what you're asking? So you have one email to go to?
That would be wonderful. Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
Is something sinus rinse all right for Neti? I don't know, Neil Med, but probably, yeah, like Walgreens and stuff has caught on with the, there's neti pots that in a way are more effective because they're squeeze bottles. You know those? Have you seen those kind at Walgreens? You squeeze them and then they create a little pressure that kind of goes up, and it goes up a little bit more into these upper sinuses that are behind the forehead. It gives you a little bit of that wasabi head rush kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's probably okay. And Costco has a neti kit. What doesn't Costco have? Okay. Before we part, do you feel like it's more accessible? You might have first looked at the spreadsheet and been like, whoa, what did I get into? I hope not, but maybe you did. Does it feel more accessible, a little more clear, like you have some freedom around it, but you're committed to what has more or less been planned? Great. Thank you, Rachel. Chloe. Okay, superb. You have my contact information. You have Derek's contact information. We are here for you. Thank you for being part of the detoxifying all the stuff, taking superb care of your immune function, your body, your family, the world. It all matters. It all makes a beautiful effect. And we thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Beth. I really appreciate
Derek?
your guidance and our kind of shared effort here. Not, you know, between you and I, and of course everyone else here as well. And I want to commend all the women in the room for taking such remarkable care of yourselves and demonstrating what I feel like is courage to embrace so many wholesome changes. And thank you for being here.
Okay. Thank you, friends. It's good to see you all. Shalise, it's nice to meet your little one there. What is your name, sweetheart?
Belle. This is Belle.
Belle. How beautiful is that? My mom is Bella.
Aw.
She's very close.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see you. Let's just finish with a simple Om and maybe stay muted because you know how it is, all distorted and stuff, but we're all still singing together, palms together. Big inhalation and let it go. Voices together. Best of luck to everyone. You're shopping now. We technically start on Sunday, so you've got a couple of days to get all the foods and herbs and stuff together. God bless. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, hi, there's Christine. I was so excited when I saw you signed up.
I am so excited.